All right, here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this Thursday's sharing of Harmonize to Energize. My name is Terry Matthews, and it's been my pleasure and privilege to share aspects of Jin Shin Jyutsu, self-help, about 4.5 years now. And welcome to anyone who's completely brand new, either right now or later on when you're watching the replay. Jin Shin Jyutsu is an art of harmonizing life energy as it moves through the body or not. And I say that because it's our lifestyle that often prevents that energy from moving through what we call energy pathways, and the acupuncturists would call meridians. The acupuncturists have hundreds of what they call points to adjust that flow and frequency. In Jinshin Jyutsu, we call them safety energy locks. There are 26 of them, left and right of the spine, and they all have significant meanings, which I don't remember, so I'm not going to say them right now. However, the principle is that if our energy is stuck, we can place our hands on these safety energy locks, and they're the diameter of your particular palm of your hand. We can place palms of our hands, fingers, thumbs, back of hands on these safety energy locks, and we can adjust their flow. And after that, we can get much more into harmony with ourselves and subsequently everybody else. So it's one of those days which I'm always delighted to share because we have a guest presenter. And it's my particular delight to bring on to Harmonize2Energize an international Jinshin Jyutsu instructor. I think you've been an instructor for over 50 years or maybe something like that. A long time.
No, a while, Terry, but
Yeah, a while.
32 years, 33 years
now.
now.
Okay, yes. So deliberate exaggeration didn't work on that occasion. However, Wayne Hackett, everybody, if you don't know him, he was one of the first students that Mary Burmeister, who, by the way, brought the art of Jinshin Jyutsu to the West. Wayne was one of the first students to be chosen as an instructor for this art. And I personally, and several of you here, have studied with Wayne probably several times. But it's my great honor and privilege to have him come on Harmonize2Energize today and share with us. So welcome, Wayne. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And, you know, Thursday the 14th happens to be a particular memorable day for another reason. And over to you, Wayne. Do you want to tell everybody what the other reason is?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about remembering a very dear person, a wonderful woman, Patricia. Met her, and had Patricia remained in her body, she would be 104 years young today. Patricia was born December 14 of 1919, 1 year after Mary's birth. And Patricia was the woman with whom I received my very first session. My first experience of the art of Jinshin was under Pat's hands. I'd gone to my first class back in November 14th, actually, of 1977, never having had a session. Didn't know anything about the art except that I was looking for something. And someone said, go find Mary Burmeister. So I went off to Scottsdale, Arizona, and to my good fortune, signed up for a session every day after class, and they were simply assigned either to Mary or Patricia. In my first class, there were 11 students, folks. 3 of us were new and 8 of us were review. It was in the old office on 67th Place in Scottsdale. And after the first day of listening to Mary, I was so overwhelmed. Like many of you know about a 5-day or that experience of your first class, there was just so much going on. And after class, I went to receive my first treatment, and in walked Patricia Metter. Terry, can we show the folks a couple of photos of Patricia?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Great.
Here we are.
Wow. Fantastic. What a love.
Yeah, I believe that was from Mary's 80th birthday.
80th birthday, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
She's
then,
a beautiful soul. I was saying to Wayne earlier that I remember her being acknowledged often as the silent samurai, and Wayne has another memory of how people described Pat, right?
yeah, she was sometimes described as because of her touch being so gentle and yet so profound. You know, I'd come to the art with a background from Dr. Ida Rolf's work in Rolfing and in a very different kind of touch on the body. And so when I laid on the table and I received my very first session, not knowing what to expect, Patricia's hands were so gentle and so loving that what I experienced, what I thought was, wow, I've got butterflies dancing on my body. And so she became the lady of the butterfly touch in my world. And I thought, oh, this is what the art is all about. Butterflies dancing on your body. And my mind was really challenged to accept the profound significance of that until I sat up on the table at the end of the session. And then I knew about the art from a whole new perspective. Yeah.
There she is with a gift from Debbie, a lettuce, which is a rather splendid
wow.
looking lettuce. That
My
was a little further on, probably in the last 10 years at least. But there she is, I believe, probably in her kitchen. And then last but not least, there she is
the
with
twins.
Mary.
I really love this photograph. They were so good buddies, such good friends, and so compatible in so many ways. Yeah, I love this photograph.
Yeah, so thank you, Debbie, again, who provided both of these major pictures. So, okay, I'm going to stop this share now. All right, so everybody, Pat Meta, just a beautiful energy. And I was privileged also to meet her, spend time with her, and receive JIN SHIN JYUTSU.
Yes, and after that experience, I went to the class the next day. Of course, after another day of listening to Mary speak, my mind was that same overwhelm. But I knew at the end of the day, the butterflies would dance because that was my experience. And so I'm laying on the table on day 2, waiting for the butterflies, and in walks Mary. And they both had a very similar approach, right? They would say very little, often, would listen to your pulse, smile, and begin treatment. Well, Mary did the same thing. She smiled, she listened to my pulse, and she walked to the head of the table. She took her thumbs and put them in the middle of my neck. And what I later learned was my 12s. And I looked at her and I said, "Where are the butterflies?" and she said to me, "Oh, they call me old steel fingers." So I learned very early in my studies that there are many ways to touch the body, and each artist has their own tools, their own set of gifts. And yeah, it was a great introduction to the vast variety of possibilities that the art offers us. So that was really good. November of 1977. So what now? 46 years ago. It seems like a very quick 46
Close enough
years.
to that 50 number.
Getting close to 50, Terry. Yeah.
Close enough.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Wayne, I must ask you, I know you did rolfing, but I remember receiving from you during a class, and I thought you had steel fingers. I mean, it was like really strong.
Well,
yeah.
after my reference to Patricia as the butterfly lady, I became known as the Iron Butterfly, Terry. So
good group, good music.
Yeah.
Butterfly.
Yeah. No, I like Mary. You know, Mary had a really good, strong touch on the body. Of course, it varied depending on the situation and the person, but Mary could let you know that she was present really, really well. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I've adopted a little bit more that direction of touch, and I like feeling the tissue, and when it's appropriate, always got to be appropriate. We touch the body by privilege, friends, right? And we need to touch the body with that sense of privilege and with that awareness that we need to touch the body in a way that they can receive our touch. And if I go too deeply, too strong, too fast, and the body recoils or rejects my advance, then I'm not going to be successful in helping them to find the harmony that we're both looking for. So it's a matter of staying conscious, living in your fingers, and feeling what's going on in every moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Jerry, you know, I'm tonight especially, I'm so grateful to you for this opportunity, really, to have this audience and to see folks that I haven't seen in a while, and to have the opportunity to share my gratitude. I am so grateful to the art. I'm so grateful to the art of Jinshin for all the many blessings that it has brought in these 46 years. I'm especially wanting to say tonight, I'm grateful to David Burmeister, Michael Burmeister, and the entire Burmeister family, not only Mary, but it was such a collective, you know, the whole family contributed. And now that I'm involved with the organization of another school, another situation, which maybe we'll talk about later, I appreciate even more the depth of their sacrifice and what it took, and commitment and time and energy, and in all manner of sacrifice often. So I want the world to know that I have nothing but gratitude and heartfelt appreciation for Mary, her family, everyone with whom I worked and played. We had some tough times, you know. Part of me would have still chosen to be with the group had it worked out differently, but it didn't. And so, you know, thank you. The source is leading us all in the direction we need to go, I trust, and good things are happening. But I want everyone to know that I am really grateful for my time on the faculty, and for all that I learned, for the gifts of being, I mean, to play with Philomena and Muriel and all the other faculty members that came along later. It was such a gift in my life, and I've learned so much from each of them, and I'm grateful. So know that. Only good wishes and gratitude. Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a gift, and I'll just quickly say, I don't think she's here, but I want to thank Editha Campbell, who was the first organizer for JIN SHIN JYUTSU in the UK, where I'm from, if you hadn't guessed. And then later, Debbie Elman, who is here, who generously gave me 2 of her appointments with Mary. And
Wow.
yeah, and I received from Mary, I think it was back in 1990, and that was it. I think I was asleep for 7 hours after the very first treatment from Mary, and she knocked me out. I seem to vaguely remember she said something like, "Oh, a lot of history," went to my ankles, and that was it. But through the years, having worked at JSJ Inc., it's, you know, a phenomenal job of organizing such a art of harmonizing. And having met Wayne, Philomena, he mentioned, Muriel, and I think there was one other who was one of the original 4.
Pamela Smith, Terry.
Yeah. They were the original instructors who were doing the classes right at the beginning there, yeah, back in the 90s. They went
Yes.
out, they were following Mary's footsteps as the pioneers, and we learned so much, and I'm very grateful to you, Wayne, for the depth of your wisdom and your knowledge in Jinshin Jyutsu. So thank you.
Well, you know, we were invited in 1987, just a brief history. We were invited, Philomena, Muriel, Pamela, and myself were invited to begin an apprenticeship of sorts, or to begin studying with Mary, because Mary knew that one day it was going to be necessary for someone else to carry on the teaching. And so we began in 1987 with this really intensive time of study and being with Mary in really precious moments, incredibly precious, where she shared her history, where she brought out a set of germerized notes that she'd maintained wrapped in a tapestry, and she held it with such reverence. And then to see this notebook of which was art, clearly art, and the precision with his notes, those kinds of moments, or to go to dinner with Mary, or to ride with her in her automobile where she would giggle and laugh about the lights on the dashboard and how they twinkled. To see the human side of this incredible woman who I was so awestruck with, it was, and then I got to organize for her, Terry. I had my first class in November, and in March of the next year of 78, she was in Boulder, Colorado, where I was living, to present a class in Boulder, because I knew right away that I was home. I'd been looking for my home, and I found it. And Mary was the key to that whole story. And so when she came to Boulder, here I am living in Boulder in the Rocky Mountains, and I thought, well, Mary's going to love the mountains, and I got her a nice little cabin up in the foothills. I later learned that Mary did not particularly enjoy cold weather. And here she was in the mountains, in the snow, in the cold, and all she said was, next time, a hotel in the center of town would be just fine, Wayne. So
Yeah.
she was very gentle about it and generous, but
Yeah. Oh,
that
wow.
was good.
Yeah.
And I got to organize classes yearly, in addition to going to Scottsdale frequently to be with her. I got to be with her once a year for the 5-day class in Boulder. In fact, the last class that Mary taught in Boulder was in August of 89. And we had the Glenn Miller Ballroom at the University of Colorado. And we had 142 students in the class. And that was talk about an organizational project. That was,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Gosh.
But good memories. And then,
Yeah.
of course, in it was February of 1990, when Mary fell, injured her head, and she was no longer able to continue teaching, at least in person. She's still teaching me today, Terry, folks. She's still very present with all of us, I'm sure. And that meant that right away, that what we thought was this long period of apprenticeship, of study and being tutored and mentored and learning, we were pushed out. And Muriel got the class in Tucson, and Philomena got the class in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I got the class in Boulder, where those were the classic Mary stops. And so we were pushed out into the world, not knowing if we were ready, but we were there. So
Out of
that's a
the
little,
nest, so to speak. You had
yeah.
your wings. Yeah. Yeah.
So
What was your very first class that you taught?
the very first class was in June of 1990, there in Boulder, Colorado.
It was there in Bowling.
And then my second class was in Sao Paulo, Brazil, because
Okay.
at the time I'd been living with and working with a Brazilian woman, and she, like myself, recognized the power of the work and the art. So she was already busy translating the texts into Portuguese. And so after the Boulder class in June, we went in July to Sao Paulo, and in this middle of this huge metropolis, presented to a very eager and willing, accepting audience of Brazilian students. And so that's one of the reasons today we have a really strong and thriving Jinshin community in Brazil. Is we had a long history there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen you to be quite the traveler and bringing out Jinshin throughout the world. I mean, you've been to pretty much most countries in Europe, yeah, and in Asia too. Yeah.
Pretty well. I've got, what can I say, Terry? I've got Jupiter on my ascendant, for those of you who understand what that language talks about. And so Jupiter means travel, and I am travel. And so it's really been my life experience to be blessed with that journey and carrying this message to people whose lives light up. You know, you see it in their eyes and their faces, and to be able to share the message, what a huge blessing in my life. Really a wonderful gift. I've been to places like China. In fact, I still have a visa that will allow me to enter into and go in and out of China for 10 years.
Oh,
I've taught in Saudi Arabia and dealt with incredible differences in culture and you know, philosophy of life, and yet worked there with wonderful folks. You know, it broke down all those barriers, both culture, you know, the Chinese, the Saudis. I've been all over Europe, throughout much of course, the US and now into South America. It's amazing how the art bridges all of the cultural differences, because we all want the same things. As different as we want to be happy, and we want to live in a healthy body. Those are two things that I know anyone asks, would you like to be happy? Would you like to live in a healthy body? They're going to say yes. It's just that we sometimes get lost and confused, and we don't think it's possible. We get angry or go into attitude about it. But I know everybody, given the opportunity, would choose a happy, healthy body. And that's what the art offers. The ability to help myself, and then I can share what I've been given with somebody else. That's life. That's the joy of life. So
yeah, folks, and I always remember when studying with Wayne, one of the first principles he would say to us when we're reading the pulses or observing a client on the table, show me the harmony. Yeah.
I was going to be paraphrasing Mary, because Mary would always remind us, when you put your hands on a body, you ask it, let me hear your harmony. We're looking for harmony. We're not looking to diagnose. We're not looking to find out what's wrong with you. We're looking to build up and uplift what's right with you, the goodness that you are. And so it's changing our focus from distress and disharmony and diagnosis into remembering that each of us is a unique expression of creation. We're the creator in matter as laughter. And our destiny is to be that fulfillment of creator in matter as laughter and have a joyful experience. That's why we're here. That's what we're remembering. The arts is such a great path to that recollection.
Beautiful. So just backpedaling a bit there, because you moved towards astrology there with Jupiter on the ascendant there. I think I seem to remember you're a Capricorn with Capricorn rising, and you're looking at a Cancer with Capricorn rising. But right now we're in Sagittarius, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to assume, I can't say I ever heard you say this when you were teaching, but did you look at the body and read the pulses and then translate that to astrology sometimes when you were working with someone?
The truth is, yes, I do sometimes hear a sign, or I'll hear a planet, because that's a vibration, that's an energy, that's a function that I recognize. And so it's like any musician might hear a musical note, or an artist with color might see a color. And so I believe what we bring to the art is our own experience, our own tools. And yes, that's been one of the languages that I really resonate to and with, that the planets and the signs are such great indicators of our lessons and why we're here, and we're here to learn. You know, Mary used to tell us, when we come to the place in life where you can see that every experience is simply an opportunity to learn, then you're on the right path. When we say, why is this happening to me? Or I didn't deserve that, or that's not just, or we start to struggle with what life brings, we've missed the opportunity to learn that lesson. And so that's what happens with these signs for me, is I hear the lesson that life is bringing you sometimes. And By the way, we're in a really interesting moment right now, astrologically, for those of you interested. And most of you have probably heard about Mercury retrograde. Well, yesterday, Mercury went retrograde for the 4th time this year. And Mercury retrograde is an optical illusion. It really means that it looks like Mercury's moving backwards, but it doesn't. You know that it doesn't. It's like the spokes on a wheel when you see the car turning and it looks like the wheel's going the other direction. That's what it is. It's an illusion. What happens with this time is Mercury, the messenger, sometimes communication gets a little garbled. And we have to be really clear during times of Mercury retrograde that what we're hearing is what was said, or that what we're saying is what we mean. And all of those issues of communication become really heightened. And so this is a good time to go inside. Many will tell you that during this time of Mercury retrograde, you go inside and you resolve your issues internally. It's not a time to go out into the world and look for ways of harmonizing so much as going inside and finding the answer inside yourself, which is, again, in keeping with the message of the art of Jinshin, that all of the answers are inside. We need to stop, look, and listen. Those were the 3 words that Mary repeated over and over. Stop, look, and listen. Go inside. Stop. Stop all that chatter. Stop that brain and all of its activity. Listen. You'll get your message. It's there. She used to tell us the presence of a question indicates that the answer is already inside. So that's the teaching that she brought to us. Was one little piece of the teaching she brought to us. She brought so much.
Yeah, I mean, I know in part of her teaching she would talk about, in terms of cause and effect, something going on above the waist, the cause was below the waist, and such like. Did she then mention perhaps astrology then when she was teaching, or did she go more into numerology? Because I saw some recordings, because folks, I never actually got to study physically with Mary. I saw video and I was blessed to meet her. So did she often, because I heard that she did study numerology and she did study a bit of astrology too.
Mary was the quintessential student. She studied everything she could get her hands on, including Reader's Digest. She was always looking for a new word, which Reader's Digest had that monthly selection of new words. So she took her job so seriously of being the messenger, the bridge of the art from the East into the West. She told us at one point, Jura Marai was #1, talking numerology. Jura was #1. I'm #2. I'm the bridge. She was speaking to Philomena, Muriel, Wayne, Pamela. She said, you folks are #3. You're the ones that are going to take the relationship of the art into the world. And in essence, that's what has happened, actually. Yeah.
Keep the door swinging open.
Yeah, the door, exactly. Yeah. And so she didn't talk a lot about astrology, Terry. Because, Mary was really concerned with how she was being heard. And especially back in the 60s and 70s, although the New Age was really beginning to keep its foot in the door so it couldn't close completely, she wasn't wanting to be on the edge. She was looking for a little more mainstream message that would not put off people. And so, knowing that astrology was sometimes considered, weird or strange, she didn't talk. However, you had the only handout she ever gave us, which is where she lists, first of all, the planets in relationship to the cervical spine, the 12 signs in relationship to the thoracic spine, the 5 elements related to the lumbar spine. And you realize that was essential in her mind to understanding how the energetic world expressed its action through physiology and the physical body. But she personally didn't talk about it a lot. I think she you know, she sort of dangled the carrot in front of me because she knew that astrology had always been one of my fascinations. And so she and I could talk about it privately, but it wasn't something that she wanted a lot of public conversation about. So
I'm curious when you and the other three began teaching, because I'd heard that initially Mary taught from the textbook 2 material because the understanding was the consciousness of the majority of the folks weren't necessarily where textbook 1 was. Was that how you began teaching, mainly with text 2, or?
yes, absolutely. Well, no, by the time I began teaching in the 90s, Mary had finally switched. But you're right. When I first studied with her, text 2 was my text 1. And I believe it's because she realized that in many ways, the West is very body material oriented. And she wanted to get grounding in this physical world so we would have a footing to talk about the energetic world, which was exactly opposite of what she'd been living in Japan. I mean, that culture is very much about the unseen, the energetic world, the invisible, and yet she bridged so well, bringing the art into the Western world. And that's quite honestly why she often would refer to biblical phrase, because she recognized that the Bible had been so important, especially in this country. Religious education founded by people out of religious desire for freedom. And so that's why she put that Matthew 16 verse 19 in much of her teaching. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom so that what's locked above will be locked below, and what's unlocked above is unlocked below. And what she did for us was she helped us to understand how that could be a message about physiology as well. Not only a message about a certain principle or religious teaching, but it was about physiology. And Jiro Murai himself studied the Bible. Just as a side note here, Jiro told us that the Old Testament was a book of philosophy for life, and that the New Testament was for the physiology, a manual for taking care of the body. And that the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, are the 4 elements. And that the Acts of the New Testament is the acts of the activity principle of the mediator in third depth. I mean, she helped us to interpret the message in a whole bigger way than some of us had heard the story. So
Wow. Yeah, that's new information to me, folks.
yeah.
I wasn't privy to that at all. But that's fascinating.
Can I share with you her favorite verse in the Bible for those of you that are students of the Bible?
Sure.
Romans 12 verse 2. Romans 12 verse 2. And the scripture says, don't be conformed to the world, be transformed by renewing your mind.
Wow.
It was her favorite verse in the whole Bible.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. How appropriate.
And she
Wow.
was constantly changing our mind. She was constantly giving us new ways of perceiving life and what its gifts offered us. So yeah, that's why again, some of the biblical stuff is sometimes, in today's world, it's not as easily accepted, and some really dismiss it easily. What Mary taught us was that truth is truth, and all truth always cooperates. It never contradicts another truth. So to look for the truth in the message and not be concerned about the dogma. Oh, that reminds me, Terry. When we were first starting with Mary, one of the first things she did was to walk to a board. In those days, it was a chalkboard. We didn't have whiteboards. She walked over to the chalkboard and she wrote CAT and DOG.
Uh-huh. I know the DOG. Well, I think I know the DOG one.
She looked at, she said, I want you to give them cat and dog. And of course, we were completely dumbfounded. What are you talking about, Mary? Give them cat and dog? She said, yes, keep it simple. If you don't, you'll get catastrophe and dogma.
That is beautiful.
Yeah,
That is
and
beautiful.
that was Mary's way of constantly, you heard her, Terry, over and over, simplify, simplify, simplify.
Yeah.
And I have to say, after 46 years, my mind is finally coming to a place where it can accept the simplicity of holding my thumb and its profound message. How I can be so completely involved with any one energetic center and have that be sufficient for my whole body. You know, Mary could touch any area of the body and know that she was having a relationship with the whole body because she saw the relationships. She touched any part of the body and she was touching the whole body. And that's what I aspire to, is that kind of awareness and knowledge of the body and its connectedness. And not only my body, but your body, everybody, that we come to the place where we recognize our connectedness. And that what happens in my life does impact your life. And what happens in your life does impact my life. And that's why your successes make me happy. Your accomplishments make me happy. No comparing, no competing. Boy, that was on page 1 of the textbook. And our world needs to learn that message. We still have way too much competition, way too much fighting about power and control and dominance. Well, we'll get there. I'm an absolute optimist that we're going to get there. It's just a matter of time. Our destiny has already been given.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you were saying with Mary being able to connect to the whole with just maybe 1 or 2 energy locks. And latterly, when I was actually awake receiving treatment from Mary, I did notice that maybe she was not using more and not connecting with more than 1 or 2 safety energy locks sometimes, but the effect was profound. And often, you know, clients where I, you know, saw them after they'd received from Mary would say, well, she didn't actually seem to do much with her hands. I think she was on maybe 2 or 3, but oh my God, I feel so whole. I feel wonderful, you know. And so I recall that was very much one of the qualities that she taught us.
If I may, I'll relate a story that Carlos shares. When Carlos was doing a mentoring program in Scottsdale, it was well after Mary's injury, and actually she was, at this point, she was in the wheelchair. So I think this was probably 2004, 2005, something like that.
Right.
Mary passed in 2008, folks. January the 27th of 2008 at 1:15 in the morning, if you're doing a chart. So Carlos was doing a session with a client, and Mary was brought into the room. And the client, of course, was very excited. Oh, here's Mary. Mary's going to touch me. And Mary touched her with one hand and held her thumb. And after a while, the student got a little nervous and a little anxious and wanted Mary to do something. And of course, David was helping, and David put Mary's other hand on the body so the client would feel more engaged, the student. Okay. Well, as soon as David left, Mary took her hand off.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was probably what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
experienced took her hand off and went back to holding the thumb.
Yeah.
And that went on for the entire time that Mary was with the person. Or David would come back, put her hand. Nope.
Yeah.
Well, the student, of course, was kind of upset that she hadn't gotten her experience of Mary Burmeister.
Right.
Until she stood up. And then she said, oh my God, the pain I've been feeling and carrying in my body all these years is not there. It's gone. So those kinds of experiences, friends, we saw often with Mary. And one touch sometimes would be enough to liberate a lifetime. And yeah, I myself had the experience of Mary giving me a treatment, and we'd go regularly once or twice a year for 10 sessions, 10 days of sessions. And I think it was after the 8th session on one of those visits, Mary had left the room, as she often did, without word, without saying anything. And then the door opened up again. She stuck her head in and she said, "There, now you're free of your past." And she closed the door and she walked away. Well, I
That's
knew
symbolic. Yeah.
I knew exactly what she was talking about. All that stuff I've been carrying over a lifetime. And that was Mary's way of being with us. Profoundly simple, and yet undeniably profound.
Yeah. And that beautiful smile that she would give sometimes when you'd look at her and say something, maybe a little bit of a complex question, and you just get the big smile.
Or the look. You could also
Yeah.
get a look sometimes, Terry. I have to say, I was the receiver of the look once or twice.
Well, yeah. Yeah. No.
There was a time in class when I raised my hand and I was called on and I said, "Mary, I just can't." She clapped her hand and she said, "Stop, Wayne. Tell the truth. Say I won't." Now, what were you going to say, Wayne? Because Mary said, "I can't doesn't exist. I won't." That's different.
That's profound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was not one to, she didn't let us get by with our language didn't serve us. She would really call us out if those of us that were especially close, if our language didn't speak our truth. And I'm grateful for that. In the moment, of course, it was, oh my goodness, I have nothing to say, Mary. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Wow.
to realize that she was again guiding me into my own power and authority for my life, no longer a victim, but a volunteer now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so those kinds of experiences, yeah, she could give you a look and you knew you were being reprimanded.
Think again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, so Wayne, is there any practical self-help or anything that you would like to share with us for this season, with the group?
Well, I was talking with another student just today, and what we realized, what I said to the student is, no one is bored right now. Do you know anyone who's bored? Because there's so much happening. There is so much activity in life.
Right.
And what we're being called to do is to adapt. And so one of my favorite pieces right now in sharing the art is helping people to adapt to what's the changes, the incredible changes, to the unknown, because none of us really knows what tomorrow holds. It's all so filled with surprise and adventure. So I'm a big fan of these 22s, which are the key to adaptation. The key to adaptation. That survival of the fittest wasn't the strongest in his message. The fittest was the one who was able to adapt to what life presented, to the species, to the animal, to whatever, that could adapt to the changes in life. And that's our message as well. We can adapt. We don't have to tell life what we need or what we want. Life's the teacher. And through the art, we adapt so that we're available to the teaching that's ours to learn. So that would be a really significant part of my message today, is let's not get stuck. For post-COVID, right? For a while during the COVID time, everyone was saying, "Oh, I can't wait till we return to normal." Well, it's not happening, folks. We're not going to return. We're not going to go back. And normal is, I'm not even sure how to define normal anymore, actually. So normal is change. You folks, if you've been with me, you've heard me quote Mary about the 3 laws of the universe. Number one, unity is the law of the creator. There's only one of us. Number two, number is the law of the universe. Everything in our universe comes about because of the procession of number. There was first a 1 that became a 2, that became the relationship of 3, so it could enter matter 4 and live as man 5, who keeps the law and lives in balance 6 to become perfection, so that as above, so below can be 8, and we can be 9, total and complete, fulfilled. Everything follows that principle. Everything that is follows that numerical process. Second law of the universe. Third law, evolution is the law of life. Change is constant. And she would add, growth is optional.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yes,
true.
I think that's what I would remind all of us, that let's not be wishing for, hoping that things return, because they're not going to that past. Let's embrace the change and know that something good is in store for us. We were not created so that the source could be unhappy and miserable. That was not the purpose, I'm sure, of the source in creating human beings. We are the creator, and matter is laughter. And so in this co-creation process, we need to allow life to unfold in ways that bring us to that experience of joy. And so that would be a really key piece of my suggestion, my offering to folks. Get to know your 22s. Here's Mary's message about 22. 22 is the site of the amalgamation of the 4 elements of creation with the 12 organ function energies of the astrological world, and with all of the functions of physiology. It all happens in your 22s. It's the most physical spot in the body where everything comes together. It is a 4 of matter, 22, but it's matter at the third level, 4 physical, 13 mental, 22 spiritual, the 3 4s of spirit, mind, body. And so this 22 will help us to adapt spiritually or energetically. If that, that word spiritual has so much baggage, people sometimes get hung up on it. So you can interchange or exchange that for energetic. The most energetic connection to the world is right here in our physical bodies. And we can be happy when we allow ourselves to change. It's that fear of change that's so disharmonizing. So get to know those 22s. That's the letter V, right? The V of victory. And in case you forget, what do you have right here at the clavicle? You have that sternal knot, that notch, that V of the collarbone. So 22V. Be a 22.
And maybe the more adaptable you are with that thyroid, the more energy you're going to have. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me. There's something that I just found in my own notes. Carlos and I have been retrieving a lot of old stuff to bring it forward. We're really concerned with preserving the purity of Mary's message, simply. And we want to cooperate and collaborate with anyone and everyone who's on that same page, who really appreciates Mary Burmeister, Jeremiah, and Mary's teaching. And if you'd like to participate with us in sharing that message, we're going to welcome you with a big hug. Yeah. So one of the things I just found in my notes, going back to way back, I've got probably 20 or 30 boxes of notes, notebooks and boxes. Well, one of them was this. If you want a quickie for your metabolism, if you want to support your thyroid in governing metabolism, here's a simple action. You're going to take your left hand and place it above the collarbone. and what she called the high 22s. You know, folks, you can go into any of the safety energy locks from below, from above, from the side. They're spherical, and you can go to the center of any sphere from any direction. So she had this high 22 was to come down into the 22 area from above the clavicle. Okay, and you want to go fairly close to that center of the sternum there. Okay, and with your right hand, stick your thumb in your left armpit and let your fingers find your right 26. Excuse me, your left 26. Right hand, thumb in the armpit. Let your fingers find the left 26. This is a quickie for your metabolism, which is everything about how your body functions. It doesn't matter if you're fast or slow. This adjusts metabolism for your rate of metabolism that's appropriate for you. Same thing on the right side then. Yeah. Right hand, high 22 on the right side. Left hand to the, why do I put my thumb in the center of the armpit? To engage the liver function, okay? And then we go on around and let the left fingertips, and when you're looking for your 26, folks, go up high onto that shoulder connection or down toward the bottom of that shoulder blade and see where along that lateral aspect of your clavicle or your shoulder blade, not clavicle, of your scapula, see where your fingers feel they're most welcome. Let your fingers feel where the body wants to be touched. It's not about doing, it's about being. You want to feel. And that's one of the things that we're really stressing in our classes these days, the experience of the art. You've got to feel it. Okay? It's not about, feeling comes before thinking. And that's something our world doesn't yet fully understand. We want to understand something, then maybe we'll trust it. Well, feel it, apply it. Maybe one day I'll understand. But understanding is not necessary. It isn't. Not to my happiness. There is back to the Bible. The Bible says there's a peace beyond understanding. Okay? That's what I'm looking for. I don't need to understand it. I want to feel it.
Right.
I want to know the joy of being in a happy, healthy body. I want to know the joy of being in happy, healthy relationships. I want to feel the profound gift of life in a way that's ever new. That's what I want. And that's what I want for you, is that awareness, that feeling of the abundant life.
Beautiful.
That's what we've been given.
Beautiful, beautiful messages. Do you want at this point to either take questions, or do you want, if there are any, or do you want to talk a little bit about what you and Carlos are doing? Which way do you want to go?
Maybe if you go, if you folks got questions, Carla, Terry, can we just put that slide up? I think I gave you.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Many of you know that Carlos Gutierrez and I and our friends have begun a new school. We are both a school and an association called the Jinshin Guild. Okay. And here you see it. This is our logo, and it's another time we can talk about how that came about, the symbolism of the logo. And then you see our address there, our website for both the school, and then for those who choose to join us, we have a membership association called our Academy. Okay. It's free membership. We charge nothing for membership. We simply ask that you commit to being a good student, to taking care of yourself, and to helping to others when you can. And that we honor the teaching. We don't go outside of the teachings of Jeremiah and Mary Burmeister. And that's what the Jinshin Guild is all about. I would strongly encourage you, at least look at our website. Look at the way we're recreating the way we present the material, not because it's needed improvement, but because we're in a different world. We want to reach the young minds of today, and they really need something that grabs their attention quickly. And so we're going into a very experiential kind of presentation. And when you look at the website, you'll see what the last 3 years of my life have been about. And it's been a very, like I said, it's given me a whole new appreciation for Mary, Gilbert, David, Michael, Martha, who worked in the office. I mean, it's just it's an incredible journey, a commitment of time and effort and energy. And I'm grateful because we're now recognized in Switzerland by the Swiss government. We are a not-for-profit organization. The Swiss government was very scrutinizing. I mean, they really looked at us with lots of detail. We've passed all their regulation, and we've just begun finally presenting our classes. And I trust you'll be hearing more about us in the very near future. So thank you. I'd love to hear from you folks. Derek, go
Oops,
ahead.
I just made a mistake, folks. I just put the wrong website. I'm just going to correct that quickly. It's www.JinShinGuild.org. Ignore my .com. It just came out. It's .org.
I see .org, Terry.
No, on in the chat room. I put it in the chat room. It's .org, everybody. Sorry about that. I just got comms on the brain. All right, let's apologize.
The difference is an org is a nonprofit, right? You've got to be
Yeah.
a nonprofit organization to be a .org.
Oh, I didn't know that, but folks, that last one, www.JinshinGuild.org is the correct one. Wow, okay. Let's see.
Can anybody guess what J, S, and G add to? 36. J is 10, S is 19, and G is 7, a total of 36. So, I mean, that level of contemplation and playfulness has gone into it, and we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably
fun.
contemplated that one. That's great.
Yeah.
That worked perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah,
beautiful.
really.
So, okay, folks, I don't see any questions beyond one. I think someone was asking about getting a copy of the planets. Where was that? I just briefly saw that. Can we get a copy of Mary's sheet with the planets? Diana, I think you probably could if you're doing a class, but maybe Wayne will suggest something else. But in the meantime, has anyone got any questions for Wayne right now? Just raise your hand and unmute yourself.
It's like Joy does.
Okay. All right. Here we go, Joy.
I just wanted to share, I had a bit of an aha this week. It had been mentioned in class that about about 2 is contains 1 and 3 contains 1 and 2. You know, each of the safety or personal energetic centers contains everything that came before. Everything that came before is a platform for the following. And when you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way through plus 9, you get 45, which is another 9. And when you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way through plus 26, I believe that number is 351, which is another 9. And I just thought, wow.
Oh, I've got a convert. Oh, good.
You know, the symmetry that Jiro Murai looked at from the numerological standpoint. It's just, wow. No wonder, you know. I can see how the symmetry of it.
Let me give you another thing to play with, Joy. If you take the A is 1 and the Z is 26, and then you bundle the next 8 groups of 3, B, C, and D add to 9.
Oh, wow.
Okay. E and G, add them up. A, J, happens.
Wow.
And you'll understand why Jiro Murai was so interested and desirous of having his message taken to the English language, because of its universality. Because the truth is, friends, there's only one language that needs no translation. That's number. Wherever I go, a one is a one is a one in whatever language and whatever situation. It's the only universal language. And so through the art, we become aware of this universality of our human experience, and we can share with our hands that loving message of number. So
Beautiful. I can thank you, Joy. Sabina is asking in the chat room, at least, could Wayne talk a bit about how he sees Jinshin Jyutsu develop, stroke mature, stroke evolve in the next 10 years? So here you go. Prediction time.
well, I predict that the world is going to come, as many of us already are, come to recognize that the status quo is no longer acceptable, that it doesn't serve us, that it doesn't maintain our health and well-being. And we're going to be looking outside of conventional means to find ways of taking care of ourselves. Now, there's a big event coming. I want to just let you all know that on April the 20th of next year, there's a huge meeting of the giants. There's Jupiter is conjuncting Uranus on April the 20th. Jupiter, the greatest of the gods, Uranus, the planet of surprise. We're going to get a huge surprise. Okay. We ain't seen nothing yet, folks.
Overdrive time.
And so this 22 is going to make it possible for you to be there and go with that change, with that event, whatever it is, without being reluctant or scared or apprehensive about the future, because you know you can adapt. You can be what you need to be so that you can fulfill life's intention through you. That's our message. What I see happening in the world is I believe the art is going to become more available to young minds. That's one of the focuses of my teaching and of Carlos's work. We want to get to the young minds. And what we've already found is that young people, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, are willing to hold their fingers. They're willing to put their hands on each other in ways that adults are sometimes apprehensive about or afraid to do. And so I know that once we get to the mind of that child, that's really going to be a big part of my outreach in the next years, whatever time that allows me. I'm going to be looking to touch young minds. That's a big part of the journey in the future. I see it becoming again. You know, Patricia and Mary had a great vision. They had a vision of having a practitioner on every block in every city. Did you ever hear that, Terry?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. That was their vision. I want you folks to share that. I want you to hold that vision with me. Because with all of us, you know, it's much more possible. And so having that connection to somebody on the corner that can tell me about holding my fingers. You know, Mary was ready to give up the art after Jiro died, after a teacher died, she called him teacher. And then after her father passed, she was ready to stop. But she couldn't do it because she would tell people at work at Boeing, she'd say, oh, you got a backache? Hold your little finger or hold your little toe. Oh, you got a headache? Hold your thumb. She knew too much and it was too simple, and people couldn't get enough of it. So finally, that's how she was finally convinced in 1966 to begin teaching, created her first textbook in 1966, because she gave these simple tips about helping yourself. You can make a difference. That's a part of what I see for the future. A simple message of individuals reclaiming the authority and the responsibility for their own beings and taking care of themselves. And then because it's a natural act, you're going to want to share it. You're going to want to give that gift to someone else, certainly those you love and care about, but the person on the street, and they'll grasp it. Gladly.
Yeah.
That's my vision. I see Lisa stands up, Terry.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisa.
Hi there.
Hey there.
That I've heard that there should be 2 practitioners on every block so that they could take care of each other.
I like that, Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, it's nice to have somebody else's hands on you, but the reality is, I can and am responsible for myself. And so I believe their message was 1 on every block. And by the time that happens, then there'll be enough people learning that they'll have a whole block full of people doing the art, being the art, not doing that, being the art. So good, Lisa.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Yeah.
So, anybody else? We got about 10 to 12 more minutes. Anybody else got anything they want to share or ask Wayne?
I have an
Sure.
interesting question. When you were talking about Mercury and retrograde, is there a position or safety energy lock for each person in the zodiac to counter any negativity of that?
Is that Diana?
Yeah.
Where are you? I'm going to find you. Yeah.
First of all, Diana, the only negativity about any planet or any astrological piece of information is our fear about it. Because it's
Yeah.
nature. It's nature in action. And so, yes, every personal energetic center, that's one of the ways we're referring to safety energy locks now. Personal energetic center. And we're finding that young people take that message, that phrasing, more easily than safety energy lock. What's this? What's safety? Is it if fear, concern, lock? What's it locking? Personal energetic center. We've all got these 26 personal energetic centers, and they have associations with planets, with colors, with numbers, with sounds. In fact, those are the 4 qualities of every material object, every material thing. A shape, a sound, a color, and a number. The 4 attributes of matter. Okay, so these personal energetic centers will allow that energy of that number, that planet, that sign to demonstrate its majesty. And there's nothing negative about it, except for our ignorance about how to use it or how to work and play with it, or our fear that prevents us from enjoying it. So, yes, simple answer is yes.
Good enough.
Yeah.
So, Yona, I saw you wrote something. Did you want to speak about that?
No, I just I had written a comment just saying I wish I could give you a big hug. I loved everything you said, and just a huge resonant big thank you hug. And I really appreciate, because I'm really big on down to earth language, getting out of jargon, because I think it's more important to get the message across than mess around with lingo. And I really love the fact that you just said the personal energy center, because safety energy lock, I find it trips things up. Not, oh, that's kind of funny, fuse box trips things up. But anyway, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Exactly.
thank
That's
you,
exactly
you know?
our thinking. Exactly. Thank you.
Right.
And
right.
it's being taken without as much of a filter, you know. People say,
Exactly.
yes, I'm energy, I've got this center and it has a function. What does it do? Then we can talk with them about the essence of that energetic center. So, and PEC, personal energetic center, does add to 24, and we know that 24 harmonizes chaos, and so that's a part of our story as well. I mean, you'll find that we've put a lot of time and thought, contemplation into some of the new language that we're utilizing.
Yeah, it creates less chaos for sure.
Good. Yeah, great. Thank you for the input. Good.
Okay, 5 more minutes, folks, but we've got a couple of comments here from Sabina and Mary around the same area. Sabina very much loved your 5-day class with Carlos, and wondering if you're thinking of writing new textbooks that will reflect Mary and Jiro's wisdom, but also Carlos and Wayne's knowledge and experience. And then Mary says, would love to see a book that discusses the numerology and astrology in more depth.
To be continued.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
those are all in the works. We do have new textbooks that are coming into being, and yeah, and they're very simple. They're very simple, and as I said earlier, a big focus is the experience. You know, if you spend your lifetime trying to understand Jin Shin Jutsu or the art of Jinshin, you'll spend a lifetime and never be fully understood. Mary Burmeister told us at the end of her life, I've studied 65 years and now I know nothing. Okay. And so it's not about understanding. It's about the peace, the happiness, the joy of being whole, of being who we are, of being what we're intended to be. This is our message. And we want you to feel it. Don't think about it. Feel it. Don't think about the pulse, feel it. Don't think about happy, be happy. A very different experience. Yes.
beautiful. Well, I'm going to go and give us gallery view now.
Can I
I've got
say
a hand here from
something?
Shilpa. Is it Shilpa?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I was going to say, yeah, far away,
Great.
Shilpa, but now Wayne can see everybody more or less, except those haven't got their camera on.
Can I say one more thing or just comment on something else?
Yes, absolutely.
So I loved also yay about simplicity, and that the most simple thing, to me, it's like anywhere you touch, even if it's that little pinky bone at the end of the tip of the finger, that opens a portal to the entirety. And so sometimes when I kind of get in my head about, oh my goodness, I'm not doing enough, I should be doing this sequence, I'm like, no, just keep it simple. And it's amazing.
Yes.
So yeah.
Thank you. Keep it simple. Shilpa.
Yes. So Wayne, I wanted to share that, anytime I see you speak and this you're like a fountain of wisdom, what you start speaking about and sharing. And so I just want to share that I feel the warmth, I feel your sincerity. I just love the philosophical truths that you share, and I just feel at home. So I really appreciate you, and I totally resonate with Yona when she says she wants to give you a hug. I want to give you a hug. So I love being in your energy field. Thank
Bless
you.
you. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thank you. Bless you.
Yeah, it really has been a privilege and a pleasure, Wayne, to have you join us today. And I'm going to ask you right out, will you come back sometime?
Absolutely. I'd love to, Terry. I'm being a goat, that Capricorn goat that I'm looking at this beautiful black goat. I just want to take one more question, Terry. Can we?
Oh,
Or one
yeah.
more comment?
Who's got another question? Yona's still got her hand
Yona.
up. Is that you, Yona?
Yeah.
No, that was an error.
Oh, that was in error. Okay.
What? No error.
Anybody got a question or a comment, some feedback? Looks as though they're all in that kind of bliss energy,
Then let me live
Oh,
you.
Mickey raised. Mickey, go ahead.
Yes, I posed a question at one of the gathering of friends, and I was whining about doing an hour a day of one. And then I was reading the newsletters, all the newsletters, and they had a story in there about what she did to get through 1 hour a day for a year. It was marvelous. I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Thank you.
You bet. Good. Do it your way. That's what we're encouraging. We want you to be the unique expression that you are, not like Wayne or not like Carlos or not like anybody else. Because if you don't be you, the world loses your gift. No one else can give your gift. You've got to understand that. And we need that. Together, we're much stronger. And no one is intelligent as, no one of us is as intelligent as all of us. Isn't that a great message?
Beautiful. Okay,
Let me share this last thing with you folks then as we leave this wonderful time together. You know this symbol?
yes,
Lynn knows it. I see it down there with Lynn.
yes.
This is an international signing that you say, I love you. In sign language, okay? Now, a little Jinshin, secret here. This is also the sequence for releasing fear. Thumb, index, little finger. So when you say, I love you, and you let go of the fear, you're being who you are. You're being love. And where there's love, there is no fear. Where there is gratitude, there can be no fear. Find something in your day, every day, to say thank you for. Some experience, some person, some gift. And be conscious and embrace it and say thank you. And when you're in, I guarantee you, when you're in gratitude, you cannot feel fear. Because you can't hold two thoughts at the same time. I love you. Thank you, Terry. This has been a huge gift in my life. I wish all of you the merriest of holiday seasons. Celebrate, enjoy, be well. And let's move into 2024 with excitement and embrace the adventure. And if you have to hold your 22s, great. Because I'm going to be. Okay?
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, folks, I'm just going to stop the recording now.